My name is Jay. This is my wife, Cornelia. And we're going to spend some time with you guys tonight. We're going to talk about what's going on in this crazy world right now. We have a few topics that we put in the flyer. We have a few topics that we're gonna jump into because we wanted to make it practical, something that you can actually walk away from and implement. And I know everybody, whoever's watching, I know everybody's got their own situation uh, that you're dealing with, and we're praying for you. First of all, you're on our hearts and minds, and we want the best for you. So I introduced my wife. The person that you can't see and who refuses to come before the camera is my youngest daughter, Jacelyn. She served as our production manager, so she kind of helped us get everything set up, figure out where we wanted to sit and all that stuff. So she will be kind of monitoring and writing down questions that people might have. Um, we gave you our email address in the flyer, so uh, hopefully we can get to some of those as well. So we'll do our best, but we do have some information prepared for you, and we're going to walk through it and see what comes of all this. So let me talk a little bit about my wife first. So she is a licensed mental health counselor. She's been counseling for a long time and has helped a lot of kids and families in marriages and all that over the course of her time. I'm a financial coach. And I've been kind of walking families through how to handle their finances, getting out of debt, and those kind of things for a few years. But I think more important than that is together. I mean, we've been married 25 years, and so we come with that as well as experience raising a family, learning how to make marriage work through all kinds of times, good times, bad times. And so we're going to come with that perspective as well, and hopefully that will be helpful to you. So we were talking, and we just felt like both of us actually were in agreement, even though maybe we got the inclination at separate times when we talked about it. We both were saying, this is the time, and this would be good for us to reach out and connect. So we were on one accord very quickly in terms of pulling this together. So we're excited to talk with you. So we're going to talk tonight about keeping yourself and your family strong. We're going to talk about stimulus checks. I know some of you have already gotten those in your bank accounts. We're going to talk about depression and anxiety. We know that's huge. A lot of people dealing with that. Preparing for loss of income. I'll talk a little bit about that and some things that you can do. And then we're going to wrap up and close in prayer, okay, for those of you that will stay for that. So just to kind of set the stage before we jump in. So we have 95% of the country right now is under stay-at-home orders, okay? So if you are in such a state, I think it was 42 states that were actually under stay-at-home orders, but 95% of the country. And then in the last 3 weeks, 17 million people in this country lost their jobs in 3 weeks. And you take that and you add that to the fact that we have this horrible pandemic that we're dealing with right now, trying to figure it out, combined with the economic fallout that has come from all of that, the loss of jobs and the closing of businesses and all those things that have happened. It makes for a recipe for quite a mess, quite a disaster, and that's from our house all the way to the White House, trying to figure it out. How do we balance this pandemic, this enemy that we cannot see? How do we balance that with the economic fallout that we can see? And so it creates a real struggle for all of us, and it looks different in everybody's situation, and we recognize that. But we believe that there are some things that you can do to help your situation, to help your family. So we're gonna share some of that tonight.
Let's just start off with that stimulus package, because I know a lot of people got the stimulus package. We already got our check, and some people don't quite understand where that came from. What does it mean? Is there going to be a penalty for me because of that later?
Yeah.
what is it? Where is that coming from, and why am I getting that money?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first of all, so I did a little Facebook survey yesterday because we did get our check, and so I had posted on Facebook just saying, "Hey, got our check. Did you get yours yet? If you did, what are you going to do with it?" And I got a few different responses. The top three I would say. One was people said, "Well, I'm going to save the money. I'm going to put it away." Other people were going to use it to buy food and groceries. Other people were going to give it away. They felt the need to try and be a help to someone else. So, and all of those are fine. Those are all great answers. But one of the things that I kept hearing was people were confused about what it is. People were like, well, is this a loan? I'm hearing this is a loan. I heard I got to pay it back. I heard the IRS is going to charge me double next year. I mean, all these things. And so I just want to clarify that this is not a loan. The IRS is not loaning you money that you will have to pay back next time you pay taxes. Okay, so, and I know a lot of people are saying that. You're hearing that in the news. You're hearing it in social media. It is not true. Okay, so calm down about that. It is your money to use this year, and it is designed to help you stabilize your family, stabilize your financial situation, and stimulate the economy. Okay, that's why the government is doing this. Okay, now, so where's the money coming from? So the government is not in a position to give you cash. The government is not in a position to go and print money and just send out cash to Americans. So this money is coming from somewhere. So where is it coming from? So since it's not a loan and since it's not going to affect your tax situation for next year, what is it? It is essentially an advance on a refundable tax credit. So there's tax credits that actually save you money, and then there's tax credits that you would get even if you don't owe the government tax. Okay. So this is a tax credit that would be available to you for the 2020 year that you would get when you when you file your taxes in 2021. Okay. So they're giving it to you a year in advance. Okay. So it's a tax credit that if you qualified, you had it coming anyway, but you're going to get it a year in advance. Okay. Again, designed to stimulate the economy and designed to give some Americans some much needed relief with some immediate cash. Okay. So
what do you do with the money?
What do we do with it?
Without the money, do you go out and buy a car, put a down payment on something?
Yeah, that's that's a good question. What do you do with
that money?
And I think there's a lot of concern out there. I think under ordinary circumstances, people would probably go ahead and do some stuff like that. They probably would go out and splurge and maybe go on a cruise or go on a vacation or something like that. But I think there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So here's what I would suggest that you think about doing with that money. Okay. Number one is if you don't have a savings account, if you don't have any money in savings, I would suggest that, and this is if you have not lost your job. If you lost your job or are going to lose your job, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So this is assuming that you're earning money, you have income, okay, so you have the stimulus money coming in. What do I do? First thing you're going to want to do is put it away in savings. If you don't have a savings account, you don't have savings money put away for a rainy day, please do that. The recommended amount to start with, if you are single, maybe no kids, $500 maybe is probably good for you. If you are married, have kids, you probably want to start with at least $1,000. Okay. The average American in this country right now does not have enough money in their bank account to cover $1,000 emergency. Okay. That means if something comes up, your car breaks down, a hospital bill, something like that, most of us don't have $1,000 that we could take out of our checking account to allocate to that. So what are we doing? We're pulling out credit cards instead. Okay. So that's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do once you have that place is if you have any debt outside of your mortgage, if you have any debt, you want to start attacking that as soon as possible. Okay. This country is in a tremendous amount of debt. The average family holds credit card balances in the neighborhood of $15,000. Okay. Now, you take the coronavirus situation away, and that's stressful all by itself. Okay, to have that kind of debt kind of looming over your head can be very stressful. Now you add on the situation that we're in right now and the economic fallout from all of that, you can see that it can really, really, really get nasty and unbearable the more debt you have. Okay, so if you can, that's a good use of that money. Okay, you put that money away. If you're out of debt, if you happen to be one of those that have learned how to live debt free, God bless you. I think we're all trying to strive to get there. Then you're going to want to make sure that you have enough money in savings. You want to go back to that $1,000, and you want to try to get it up to 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Exactly for situations like this, okay, where you might be in a situation where you lose your job. Okay, so 3 to 6 months, and what that does is it shields you against life, basically. Okay, things happen. You have money in the bank that you and your family aren't stressing right away. You got time to kind of figure out your next steps, where you want to go. Okay, so you want to do that. So I won't go any further than that. There's more you can do with it, and I can talk offline if you want to talk about that. But I would say those are your first three priorities. Get $1,000 in your bank account if you don't have it. Plop down and try and pay off a credit card or two if you can with this extra money. And then if you can, try to build up that 3 to 6 months of living expenses to the extent that you can. Okay. All right. So I mentioned stress and anxiety, and we got families out here that are struggling, and people are trying to figure out, well, what do I do? And so I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
So for most of us, it seems like life pretty much turned upside down in what feels like overnight, practically, for some of us. And so what are some things that we can do if we're single or if we have families, if we're married? What are some things that we can do to keep our sanity and stay strong?
That's a really good question, of course. United States of America already has a lot of anxiety. Once again, I heard you say just a few minutes ago, take the coronavirus away and just deal with just money all by itself raises anxiety. Well, we've already got a lot of anxiety in the United States of America, and now you add this thing called COVID-19 that you can't control, you can't see, and you don't know what to do, right? Anxiety a lot of times reaches an all-time high or a peak when we feel like we can't control things and when we don't know what the future looks like and what's going to happen. So the main thing when you're dealing with anxiety, of course, is to control the things that you can control. So in other words, control the controllables. People have heard me say this before. Clients have heard me say this. Focus on what you can do. It automatically makes the brain, right, start to relax when you have something that your hands actually can do. So don't get caught up in the what if game, because you can never win the what if game. Everybody loses the what if game. Nobody wins that. There are always impossible scenarios with no real solutions to that. So what can I control? I can control how I eat. I can control what I do with my stimulus package. I can control my routine. I can control how I decide I'm going to homeschool my kids. I can control my response to COVID-19. I may not be able to control that it's here, but I can definitely control my response. What are the areas in my life right now that I want to start targeting and focusing on that I can control right now today? I control getting a good night's sleep. So that's the main thing. Start, even if you have to write a list of the things that you can control and start tackling them and focusing on them. Good time to bring in things that you haven't done for a long time. Spring, as we women know, is like, spring cleaning. Guess what? I get to spring clean now for real. So what are some things I can control? What are some outside things I can do with my time? And you also, within all that, controlling what you can control, it's really important that you have self-time. Do not lose or give up your self-care time. Most definitely, that's important. Mental health, self-time.
Awesome. So we have, as I mentioned, 95% of Americans are at home, stay-at-home orders, and quite frankly, we have people staying at home now who are kind of forced to be at home. Okay.
Right.
And couples who, I guess I'll just say it, probably shouldn't have been married in the first place are now forced to be at home together, right? So we're seeing a rise in domestic violence.
Yes, we are.
There's all these things going on in the house because now you have, routines are being jacked up. People who had worked out, okay, I think I can live with this person. Now all of a sudden, you got both people working from home, or you got, schedules are all messed up, and so it's creating uh, a lot of anxiety, right? And so what can people do they were barely making it to begin with, right? The marriage may have been already struggling, kids with and family things already dynamics already kind of in disarray. What are some things that those folks can do,
That
like right now?
Well, that piggybacks on the self-care, but one thing that I will caution, please, COVID-19 is going on right now. We have to be careful. So please don't throw anybody out. That's one thing I'm going to ask you not to do. Don't throw anybody, don't kick anybody out. Now's not the time to be kicking folks out and making them trying to find a place to stay. Try to find a way to stay together. Work is an outlet for us. It's a place where we get to go and get away from one another, and have some space and some time before we come back and regroup and enjoy our family. And a lot of us are missing that outlet. There is no outlet. So it is really important, once again, self-care. What can you control? I can control my self-care. Recognize who you are. Recognize how much self-care time you need. Yes, kids are at home with us now, and they want you 24/7. And you have to be willing to sometimes maybe do things outside of the box that you would normally do. Maybe you don't want the kids to have too much screen time. Totally understandable. But maybe tonight they need to watch a movie while I go in and take a hot bubble bath. Or maybe tonight is your night to be with the kids, honey, while I go take a walk by myself. I'm going to go walk the dog by myself, even taking a drive. It's been some really beautiful evenings. The stars are out. The moon has been out. You can see the mountain. Self-care. You have got to find an outlet. You're not going to get the 8 hours that you got when you went to work. That's not going to happen. But if you can get 30 minutes to an hour once a day, that will make a huge difference in your psyche, in your mental health, and how you re-engage with the family when you come back. It's necessary. It's not something we can give up.
Good.
Yeah. Can I ask another money question?
Okay.
Or do you have a follow-up question about that?
No, if I do, I'll come back.
Oh, please circle back around. I know you will. I have a money question because you had brought up a few minutes ago about people getting laid off. There's a lot of people, 17 million people are laid off or without work right now? I think it's
in the last 3 weeks.
The latest that I've heard? Okay. So a lot of people, and it was immediate. It was quick. It just like happened overnight. So a lot of people are laid off right now today. They're going to be laid off, but if they're going to be laid off, it's going to be tomorrow or next week. It's not going to be 6 months down the line. And this may continue until the economy bounces back, because our economy is directly related to what's going to happen with the virus. Like the two go hand in hand. And so with so many people being laid off, how do you even prepare for the longevity of it? Or how do you prepare for, I don't have that $1,000 put away. What do I do during this time? What are my options? What are my resources? What do I do? Because that's going to raise anxiety. So it's like, I don't want to walk the dog. I want to know what to do with my being laid off.
Yeah. Well, and we are hearing a lot of talk at the highest levels of our society about, well, how long do we wait before we try to reopen businesses? How long do we wait before we try to get the economy back on track? And so the struggle and trying to figure out those two things, the pandemic and the economy, are very real. And when it comes down to your household and our own individual households, it's the same. It becomes the same conversation. So I think that if you are in a situation right now where your income might be relatively stable, you think you might be okay, but there is a chance that either you or your spouse or someone in your household might be facing a loss of income. I want to talk about that a little bit, and then and what to do if you've already lost your job, right? Okay, some things have happened, and you're already sort of facing that situation. So the first thing you're going to have to do is face it, right? Come to grips with it and accept what has happened. You know, a lot of times this happens when people want to go hide somewhere and they want to act like it didn't happen, and that is the absolute worst thing you can do, right? So you want to make sure that you're gonna you know, stand up, hold your head up, face it. This is not to sound insensitive, but there have others have come before you who have lost their jobs, and people figure it out, right? So that's the mode we need to kind of be in: is what do I need to do? What do I need to start doing? How do I need to make sure that I'm taken care of, my family is taken care of? Okay. Very first thing you can do is face it, own up to it. You got a mess on your hands right now, and you have to deal with it. And then you're going to want to address what we call the four walls. Okay, and that's basically making sure, first of all, you got food on your table. Okay, you got to make sure you and your family are fed. And secondly, then you're going to want to make sure you keep your lights on. So your utilities are the second thing. Okay, we're talking about four walls. Now, the reason I say that is you'd be surprised at how many people get really intimidated or scared when they get phone calls from creditors. I know, and I've talked to people personally who have decided to pay a credit card company before they bought food. And that's because creditors are really skilled at scaring you. They want you to believe that they have all power and they can come and they can garnish this and they can take that. Um, and unless you're the IRS, you don't need to be afraid of them that way. Okay, you need to take care of your family first. You need to make sure you have food on your table, number one, and then you're going to make sure that you have your lights on and you have power in your house, you have water, your utilities. Okay. Third thing, make sure that your rent and mortgage is taken care of. All right, that's important. And then finally will be transportation. Okay, so you can get to work if you're working, or if you're not working, you can go out and try and find work. Okay, so those are what we call the four walls. When we have financial situations like this that come up, that needs to be your priority first. Okay, now if you're doing okay financially and those things are all in order, those four walls are up and doing fine, then you're gonna probably, depending on your situation, thinking about piling up cash, putting money away. Maybe you don't know exactly what you're going to do with it yet because you're not sure when you might lose your income, but you think it might be happening. Okay, so you're going to take that money and put it away, and that's going to be I'll figure out what to do with it later money. Okay, and that's totally fine because again, we don't know what's happening right now. And the economy is up and things are in turmoil, so we don't quite know what's going on. So that's going to be important to do that. And then the last thing you're going to do is really important is to create what I call a survival budget. Okay, most of us don't live on a budget the way we should. Most of us kind of go month to month, week to week, day to day, or whatever. Okay, but a budget is a written plan. Okay, and when you have your income is in jeopardy, or you think it might be, it becomes very important to write a plan on how you're going to spend your money, especially if you think there will be less of it. Okay, so it's about sitting down and what do I really need to live on during this time? What does it take to run my household? Do we really need $800 worth of groceries, or can we live on four? What are the absolute necessities that you need to have in place? You need to write those things down with numbers attached to them. Okay, so that you can spend whatever money is coming in the door, or whatever you have that you're going to be spending, you can assign it to those things that are most pressing. Okay, critically important. If you're not in the habit of doing it, and most Americans aren't, it can be a real challenge. Okay, so be patient, but do not do it. Okay, push yourself, persist, be diligent about that, and make sure you're doing that because you'll be surprised at how much more in power you will feel when you know where your money's going. Okay, so that's critically important. Okay.
And what about resources? what are some resources that I have that might be able to help me during this time? So I've created my survival budget. I've got my little bit of stack of cash or not. But what resources do I have that can help me?
Well, we know that unemployment is available, but that system is really being tested right now with all the folks that are there.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of you almost can't go anywhere now without finding an advertisement or something for COVID-19, where an organization or a company is offering some assistance of some kind. So you can keep your eyes open for that. One thing also is to make sure that if you expect, if there might be a challenge or something with your bills, with a creditor that you owe, make sure that you reach out early. Get on the front end of that, because they already know that the country is kind of topsy-turvy right now, so they're expecting people are going to be struggling. You don't want to be the person that they have to call. You want to be the one calling them, okay? Because they'll be more apt to work with you if you're proactive, okay? So if you feel like you owe on a bill or you owe on a car or you owe something and you might not be able to pay it or you might be struggling over the next few months, be proactive about that. Reach out and let them know. Okay, a lot of times they will work with you and give you some more time or work out some kind of arrangement with you. So.
And Jason, I thought I saw a question come in. I want to make sure. Okay, I saw one pop.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, yes, with you is. So I'm going to come back and talk a little more about depression and anxiety, okay? Because that's real. And we know we already had a huge problem in this country, as you mentioned before, even before the coronavirus. So with all that's going on now, it seems like it has increased exponentially. And I know that you hear it in the voices and conversations that you have with your clients.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's important for people to realize that they're not alone.
Correct.
Right. In either the financial stuff we're talking about or in the counseling and therapy stuff we're talking about, you're not alone. And so I want you to kind of share, if you would, what are some things that you're seeing and hearing from your families that the folks might be able to relate to, and what do we do about it?
There's a couple different things that I'm hearing and I'm seeing. One thing is there are some people are kind of taking the avoidance, kind of like you were saying about with the budget and finances and what do I do with my money, just pretending like it's not happening. So some people are in their mind kind of like on a vacation. They're kind of seeing it as a vacation. In and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that sometimes if you're dealing with anxiety and you're avoiding it, it's going to catch up with you later. So the best way to deal with it is to deal with it head on. Be aware of why you are avoiding and deal with it, because sometimes anxiety can come after everything has been calm and peaceful because you didn't deal with it then, and now you're dealing with it later when things have gotten a little bit better, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm hearing a lot of people feeling really depressed. I'm feeling people feeling guilt and shame. There's moms who are at home. They've taken on the role of homeschooling and they realize that they don't like their kids as much as they thought they did. That's a joke. They love their kids. But being with your children every day is a lot different than when you send them off to school, you go to work. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, sometimes there's some breaks that we're not getting. We're just not getting it. Once again, that's that having those outlets that we're not getting. We need mental health outlets. We need our alone time for prayer, for devotion, for restoration, getting ourselves back willing and able to engage with our daily commitments and responsibilities. That's really important. So yes, I'm hearing a lot of people my clients are calling in, they're emailing, we're talking, I'm doing a lot of telehealth, and the main thing is, how do I deal with this anxiety and how do I deal with this depression? There's a lot of talk on the media about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I know that we should have an awareness about what's going on, but we're being inundated with a lot of negativity. And I'm not saying that it's not out there, but we are forgetting. And I'm so thankful for people who are starting to post on Facebook and the humanity that's happening out there.
Yeah.
The way that we're supporting one another, the way that we're starting to help one another. I caution a lot of my clients, stay off of the rumor mill, stay away from the myths and going too far off site onto certain searches or social media that's not giving you the facts. All you need to be able to get through this time are the facts. What is the CDC saying? What is WHO saying? What is our president saying? What are the people that are in our government that are fighting these things? What are they saying? Stick to the facts, because we can work with the facts and we can work with the truth. But let me just go a little step further. Not only what are they saying, what is the message I'm receiving from my Lord in my prayer? What is he saying to me about this and how I should respond and how I can be a help, right? Stick to the facts and stick to the truth, because only with those things are we equipped with real solutions. So I'm asking my clients to focus on the things that you can control, focus on the truth, stay away from the lies, stay away from the myths, stay away from the rumors. They're not going to help you. They're just going to get you into more trouble and make you spiral even more out of control. And that's the best way. If you have depression, one of the things that makes you feel better is when you are involved, when you're involved with your community and you're helping and you're seeing positive results from that helping. So stay on the positive side. You cannot control the virus. You can control how you respond to the virus up here.
Absolutely, yeah. So we did have a question, but before we come to that, I want to say one other thing I meant to say about finances. So I received an email the other day from a gentleman who told me that he panicked and he sold all of his stocks and stuff out of his 401k because he thought that's what he was supposed to do. So I want to tell you, if you have not done that yet, please don't do that. Leave your money alone. Leave your stocks alone. Leave your 401k alone. I've heard the expression said from one of the financial gurus in the country, Dave Ramsey, it says that the only time you get hurt on a roller coaster is if you get off or you jump off early. It has a designated time to start and a designated time to stop. And if you ride it, you'll be fine. The only time you lose money in the stock market usually is when you take it out. So unless you're facing bankruptcy, foreclosure, or something drastic like that, please leave your money alone. The stock market has a history of coming back. It does. It has. It will. Okay? So I just wanted to say that.
I wanted to piggyback on something that I was saying too. I appreciate that. And I know that we have a question. I just wanted to give you 3 things that really raise our anxiety and our depression. One is feeling stuck. Okay, when we feel stuck, when we feel like there are no options, there's no solutions, and we're stuck. And so COVID-19 makes a lot of people feel stuck because they don't feel like they can do anything with it. Another thing that raises our depression and our anxiety is not knowing, like not knowing the future, not knowing what's going to happen. That piggies back on the feeling stuck. So why am I saying to you to focus on the things that you can control and change, the things that you can do, is because it gets rid of that stuck feeling. It's really important when you're dealing with depression and anxiety that you do not allow yourself to stay feeling stuck. You have got to focus on things that gives you options and choices, and you always have options and choices. When you feel stuck, you have taken away your options and your choices. Find a way to give them back to yourself by controlling what you can.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So the question that came in, what is a good way to deal with loss of events like graduation, trips, birthdays, weddings, funerals, things that we cannot do right now?
I love that question. Can I answer a little bit of that?
Yeah.
And you
go
too?
ahead.
Okay. So the other day, I'm working from home like many of us are, and I set up my office in one of my girls' bedrooms where I can see out because I needed the window. I'm one that needs a lot of light. I need that vitamin D3. We all do. Get outside. So I'm sitting there and I'm doing a therapy session, and all of a sudden, about 10 cars start coming down the street, and they all have balloons on. And so they're all decorated in purple, red, yellow, blue balloons, and I think someone just got married. Someone on the side of the car said congratulations, and they just drive down the road. They honk at this house down the street, and then they turn around and they drive back really slowly and they make a big show of it. Now, those people are never gonna forget that.
Right.
So once again, control what you can. Now it's time to think out of the box. Think out of the box. I have a good friend that was talking about, we have a whole bunch of kids that are getting ready to graduate school this year. And I'm thinking if they are unable to graduate walking across the stage, we just don't know if that's going to happen. So we're talking about putting on some type of Zoom event. The parents, we need to get together, think of a way that we can celebrate these kids until we can give them a big grandiose celebration later. I love that. So now's the time to really start thinking out of the box, and of course do the things that you feel comfortable with. On Easter, we went and visited our family, our grandfathers, and we sat 6 feet apart. So we're in the backyard. It's a beautiful day. They're over there, we're over here, but we're talking and we're communicating. And we're far away. We don't go inside their house. We don't touch anything because they're elderly. And they felt safe with it. We felt safe with it because we put a whole bunch of safety precautions in place to be able to enjoy them on Easter. Sunday, we were going to celebrate Easter together. Once again, we didn't exchange things or touch things, sat very far apart from one another. So now's the time to actually be creative and pull on your friends that have really great ideas. Parents get together. But we had somebody else. Didn't you have a friend who had her 50th birthday party via Zoom?
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Had her 50th birthday party, Facebook Live. Everybody got on, and we just have to think about the main thing is we've got to keep moving. And I'm so glad you came up with this question, because another thing that I said that I've been telling my clients that help with anxiety is you can't stop dreaming. You can't stop planning for your future, and you cannot stop moving. Keep moving with life. You've just got to do it different.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and we have, this the question related to dealing with loss of events and things like that. So our youngest daughter is a senior this year, so we have had to kind of think about that too, and how to. We had vacation plans we had to alter because of this coronavirus, and it's just called for us to be more creative, and to maybe delay some things. You've heard the expression "delay but not denied," and just let them know, hey, we're going to get to some of this stuff, but right now we have to be concerned about safety first.
But we're definitely going to plan something.
Absolutely.
We're not going to let it go without nothing. I know a lot of people did special, unique things for Easter. I saw some people on Facebook celebrate things that they've never celebrated before. I see some people say, well, let's do a Hanukkah event, or let's do this, let's do that. So you keep planning and you keep moving and you keep doing the things that you can do under the circumstances. You don't stop.
Sure. Next question came in. What can you tell parents with children that keep asking to go to their friend's house? Oh, Jason's telling me to turn the card over. Parents get distressed when they keep having to say no. What do they do?
Who are you telling? I'm one of them.
Yeah.
It's so hard because, and I'm going to let you answer this too. I have amazing daughters, and I'm one of those moms that have a really hard time saying no. I have the worst time saying no. But this is out of my control. This is really, truly out of my control and out of my hands. But you still feel guilty and you still feel bad because you feel like you should be letting them do it because they're so awesome, right?
Yeah.
But you can't. And so we've had to sit down and have a conversation about how serious this is. And fortunately, I have an older daughter, so I'm not really sure what age range you're looking at here, where it's like you talk yourself through this. You talk through why this would be dangerous for you to do this, and how many people that friend may have in contact with that you don't even know, and now you're bringing it back home to us, right? And we're in that age range where who knows, right? So just making them talk through it and having them realize this is out of your control. If I could control it, I would do it. And then doing those things outside the box. I mean, this is the age of social media, Skype, FaceTime, talk time. They love their apples, Apple it, however you Apple it, but Apple it, right? And letting them know it's a season, and that when it's over, or when we get back to being able to do things, it's going to come back. Another thing that I told my daughter too is, you're doing your part. You're doing your part. You are a blessing. You should be proud of yourself because you are doing your part. God would want you to do your part.
Yeah, that's good.
Somebody said, I think one preacher had said that every time you tell yourself no to something that you would want to do, you just may have saved somebody's life. So I tell my daughter, you have saved people's lives. You just don't know it. Could even be mine, right?
I had I saw on Facebook when one lady, her teenage daughter, or maybe it was on the news, her daughter kept coming home talking about, I'm gonna go to my friend's house. I'm not gonna stay home. And her mom told her, okay, well, if you leave, you're not coming back. The doors are gonna be locked.
Yeah, pack your bags.
So you have parents who parent that way. You have parents who they'll explain things to you if they feel like it. If it's a good day, they might explain it to you, but otherwise they're going to tell you this is how it is. This is what you need to do. If you're one of those parents, nothing wrong with that, because this is life or death, as my wife was saying. That's what this has come down to. This isn't just people, making up this stuff. People are dying, right? And it's okay to tell your kids that. I think the other thing you can do is try to your kid, right? So the best approach to kind of get them to listen. And sometimes it's just saying, hey, look, I know you love your friends. How would you feel if they ended up getting sick and it could possibly have been because you went over there? Or how would you feel if you came home and I got sick and it could possibly have been because you went over there? Okay, so you have to just kind of know your kid and bring it to whatever is going to work, whatever will get their attention. But sometimes it just has to be no. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I told my daughter she'd be really upset if she killed her mama. So hey.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
A question came in for you.
Yep.
If you already have an emergency fund,
okay,
how do you balance paying off consumer debt versus saving more cash?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I teach people that your most powerful wealth building tool is your income. And so to the extent that you can free that up, you'll be doing yourself huge, huge favors. Not only for your personal situation, but for your family tree ultimately. Because just like income can be passed down, wealth, things you have amassed or saved can be passed down. Sometimes we can pass down debt too. Certain types of debt kids can inherit and have to pay for out of your estate. And these things can really affect the next generation. So first priority is almost always, and in almost every case, debt before you start trying to pile up cash. So going back to those first 3 steps I told you, after you get the $1,000 set aside, or $500, whatever it is for you, your next priority is going to need to be all debt except for your house. So credit cards, cars, boats, personal loans, whatever else that you owe on, you want to attack those with as much intensity as you possibly can, as much focus as you possibly can. Because once you're out of debt, that income is now free for you to utilize in much more productive ways, right? Ways that will actually grow your net worth, bring you, interest into your situation. You can, grow your income. You can turn that income into more income, put money in investments and those kind of things. You have those options when you don't have debt. You just have more available to you. So every situation is different. But by and large, and in most situations, I'm going to tell people to attack debt first, and then build your savings.
So that's kind of, and in these circumstances where we're in right now, because I think balancing consumer debt and saving more cash, specific in this situation means kind of like get a little stash and then continue to go after your debt.
Yep, and then come back.
Right. And then for those that are probably laid off and unemployed, that's when they start deploying some of those resources that you were saying. Talk to people, call people up, see what you can do, can't do, stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so we have another question for you about the 4 walls.
Yeah.
Okay. So have the 4 walls, have an emergency fund, have 6-month reserve. Only thing never done is investing. Would it be a good time to jump into the market now?
Yes. Actually, I don't think it could be a better time to jump into the market. But let me insert something there before we jump into that. So when you have your 3 to 6 months set up, a lot of times people want to need to plan for large expenses or large purchases. For instance, maybe a down payment on a house, or you want to maybe jump off into an investment property or a rental property or something like that. Once you have your 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside, that's generally the time to do that, because you have kind of your first priorities are kind of taken care of, and now you can kind of look at some other things. After that, or if that's not the case for you, then that's the time to start looking at retirement and retirement investments, and maxing out your 401ks and doing the most that you can in that area. Because once you have your 3 to 6 months, everything all set up for you, really the only other place to put money is actually thinking about your future, right? And so some people have non-retirement investments; those are fine. But by and large, you're going to be thinking about, okay, the day is coming when I'm not going to want to have to work. So you need to be putting money into that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If there's any questions that we haven't answered, or there's some questions that you really want to ask, you can definitely email us.
Yeah.
And we will love to get back to you and answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah. So there's a couple of resources, I guess, as we start to wrap this up. One is we have an email address at Winds of Liberty. It's info@windsofliberty.com. Again, that's info@windsofliberty.com. And you can email us there, whether it's a question for my wife or a question for me about finances, and we will do our best to get back to you. We also have a newsletter that we send out either monthly or quarterly. We're trying to figure out how often to send that out.
Probably going to be quarterly, most likely.
Okay. Yeah. So that has lots of information in there about a lot of stuff we're talking about tonight. Okay? We try to just do it on a regular basis. So you can sign up for that. And then we also have a blog on our website with information that's available, that's even there right now, windsofliberty.com.
We have 2 more questions coming in, and I'd love to be able to answer those questions. I feel like we have time to do that. So we'll take one now. Go ahead. All right. I think it's for you.
One more. That's it? Okay.
Oh, one more. Sorry. Okay. You want to answer?
Okay. Question is, how do we deal with how do we live with difficult decisions that we have to make, whether it's during this time or just kind of in life in general. Sometimes we have to do things that are uncomfortable, or do things that break our hearts, and it can be decisions around loved ones or things that we care about. When it becomes a tough choice and a tough decision, how do we kind of think through our options and figure out the best course of action? And then how do we live with whatever we've decided? What are some steps we can take there?
There again lies, once again, and I keep coming back to this because it's so powerful. I don't like it when I feel like sometimes life comes at us so hard and we feel like our choices and our decisions have been stripped from us, which makes us feel like we don't have any control whatsoever. We do have control over the way that we respond to things and how we deal with things. So first of all, what can I control in this difficult situation? What's in my power to do? How can I think out of the box in this difficult situation and focus on the positive of it? How can I find a way to embrace the things that I have to do? It's always a teaching moment too.
Yeah.
How do I embrace this really difficult thing that I have to do? Let it be a teaching moment and show the people around me how to celebrate it. How do I make this painful and celebratory at the same time? Because the reality is life is more like that. We talk about mountaintops and valleys, but most of us can honestly say that there's something really good happening in our life, and at the same time something not so good is happening in our life, right? It's never always perfect or always down in the dumps, even though sometimes we think it's always down in the dumps. So how do I take on the pain and realize that this is hard and this is difficult and this is sad, but how do I find a way to celebrate this at the same time? Where can I put the positive in it? Where can we focus on the good thing? How can we make this a blessing in the midst of the pain at the same time? So thinking outside of the box and communicating, having open dialogue and communicating and bringing everybody in. What can we do to make this easier for you? What can we do? What are some things that you need from us so that we can transition and do this difficult task that we need to do? And if that's not answering the question, email me.
So I would just add to that. What I tend to do when I have to make difficult choices is, first of all, I'm a man of faith without question. So, I'm definitely going to talk to my Father, God, about it. The other thing, though, is to consult with other people. You have friends in your life. You have hopefully people you can talk to, a family member or a friend or a colleague. Sometimes it is great to get other people's perspective on options that are available to you. Just ask others what they think. And then at the end of the day, if it's your life and your situation, you're going to have to make the decision. But there is wisdom in getting counsel from other people. And I have personally been able to avoid some huge mistakes and have also made some very positive decisions as a result of getting counsel from other people. So definitely encourage you to do that. Life's not easy, and we're going to have tough choices on a regular basis as long as we're in these bodies. So those are just some things that you can do, I think, too.
Whatever you do, though, don't avoid it. Don't not talk about it. And ask the questions. What do you need? What do you need to help you get through this time? Right?
All right. So I think that's it for our questions. So we're gonna if we if we can figure this out, I think that we're gonna try to post this so that people can view it later. So if you had to leave or whatever, or if you came in late, we're gonna try to put it on the page so that you can check it out. Closing thoughts, comments, anything you want to leave the people with before we end it prayer?
Yeah, I just don't want anybody. Part of the reason why Jay and I did this is because we're very passionate about people. We're very passionate about loving people and caring for people and making sure that people are okay. And so I just want all of you out there to never, ever feel alone. And I know most of you have your churches and you have your support groups and you have your family. Just rely on that. Pull tight. Think outside of the box. Know that we love you, your friends love you, your family love you. We're in this together, and God is our Father, and He's going to lead us through this.
Man, that's good. That's good. I'll just add that it's important to be kind during this time as well. I know people are stressed out, and I know when you go to Walmart and you see people fighting over the last tissue paper or the last toilet paper or the last milk or whatever. I've seen it, and this is an opportunity for all of us, I think, to be light and not do things like that. So be kind,
Yes, please.
to people. Be patient, be calm, right? I mean, these are tough times, but we have to trust that better is on the way, right? You've heard the scripture that says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And all of us, those of you who are believers, and that we believe that these times pass. So let's be, to the best that we can, let's be an example, and not, I've seen people become different, totally different personalities when things like this. And I know stress kind of does that, but let's try to hone that in a little bit and be who we are. Let the better part of us come out, right, during this time. And there's a great way to be a witness. And also, I have seen so many people decide to serve. I've seen so many people decide to give during this time. Uh, and I could name some of you, but just, rallying churches to come together, rallying friends to get out and do things. And that's one of the best ways to take the focus and stress off of yourself, is to ask yourself, what can I do for somebody else? And the opportunities are endless. And my father used to say, whatever your hands find to do it. There's an opportunity for you to do that. You have another question?
No.
Oh.
So if you guys are interested, we can do this again. Let us know if you're interested in us doing something like this in the future, and we would be more than happy to. And there's other things that we have so much. We've been doing this for many, many years, have so many things that we'd love to talk to you about. Let us know.
All right.
Can we end in prayer?
We're going to end in prayer. Is that your way of telling me it's time to close?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You were getting ready to preach.
No, I wasn't ready.
Yeah, you were.
All right. So we're just going to say a quick word of prayer. We want to pray for those of you that might be dealing with the virus directly, either yourselves or with your families. We want to pray for our first responders. Definitely want to keep them in our prayer. And then we're just going to pray for hope and healing and peace for all of us. So if you would bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we just want to pause and first of all, thank you for this time to spend with our brothers and sisters, for this time of sharing and hopefully providing information that is practical and usable for folks. And Lord, we just, during these trying times, we just want to first of all pray for anyone that is struggling with this virus, either themselves or in their families. We would just want to pray for your presence, your healing in their situation. We also want to pray for our first responders. There's so many who are putting their lives on the line for our care and for our protection. We want to hold them up, ask that you would hold them up and cover and protect them as well. We know that the family is the bedrock of our society. It's the institution that you created. So we want to say a prayer over families because we know that they are under attack in many ways as never before. The loss of income and sickness, all these things that are attacking the family. And we know that there's nothing the enemy would like more than to destroy the family. So we're going to pray that families will stay together, Lord, that your presence will be there. Help husbands and wives stay together, children and moms and daughters, sons and daughters. All of this, the family, Lord, that will be kept together. And lastly, Lord, we just want to say a prayer of healing for our nation, for our world, as we suffer through this. And we believe, Lord, that you will bring healing, and that we're going to be okay. We're going to make it through this, Lord. So we stand in faith and we walk in faith. In your name we pray. Amen.
And I want to thank all of you who tuned in, and thanks to all of you who submitted questions. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Amen.
And maybe we'll see you soon.
Yep.
Again. All right. Have a good night.
Bye, y'all.